Hi and Assalamualaikum. We are band students from group band 3A are going to present our critical review.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and hi. My name is NATASHA KHAIRINA binti MOHAMAD KHAIRY with metric number 049979. Literature can be defined as the body of written works produced in particular language, country or age, or the body of writings on a subject, for example, scientific, art, and etc. In this assignment, we are given a chance to review other scholars' criticism on the literature text that we have chosen, which is My Father's Tears and the Apparition by John Updike. We also have chosen to analyze the similarities of themes between the texts. John Updike, or known as John Updike, was a great American novelist that successfully gained lots of awards and honors. This will be such a great experience to review his short stories. Summary of My Father's Tears. This story is about a journey of a man in facing his adult life. The story starts from his memory seeing his father cry for the first time when he was on his way to return to Boston and college. The memory continued with his first moment that he fell in love with and get married. After some misunderstanding and incompatibilities, they divorced. And the story ends with his memory of his father's death, which he cannot be by his father's side on his last day with him. Move on to the summary of the apparition. It tells us about a culture and belief that should not be overlooked by individuals. The story starts with the journey of Milford and his wife in southern India. The story evolved into the experience of Milford learning about Hindu and religion. Milford eventually fell in love with a girl named Lorena. All that Milford have been through are finally make him realize about the earthly and transcendent truth.
Next, I will talk about the review on the theme of My Father's Tears and the Apparition by John Updike. First thing first, the theme of both of these stories is conflict of love in a familyhood. Let us start with the similarities on the theme. In My Father's Tears story, main character Jim struggled with his feelings towards his family, while in the Apparition, Henry Milford also struggled with his feeling that he is attracted to a younger lady, but he is still considering his age. Now, let's move on to the differences that I found in the theme for both short stories. In the My Father's Tears, the conflict is when Jim divorced his wife because of the incompatibilities that they have. On the other side, in the Apparition, the conflict can be seen when Henry Milford, the main character, still loving his wife while attracted to another woman.
Assalamualaikum and hi guys, I am Anisah Fatima binti SHAFIQAH with metric number 050121 and today I will like to present on the review of My Father's Tears by Simon Sharma. Simon Sharma is a contributing editor of the FT and author of the American Future a History. Updike was better at the elegiac than catastrophic, but My Father's Tears, despite the implication of the title story, is not all mood indigo. Updike's genius was for the richly relished, precisely nailed moment, his incomparable powers of translation between what is observed and what gets fixed in memory, like a girlfriend who was all outlined in silver point, a miniature rainbow trap in austere Vermont bathroom, reflected from the beveled edge of its mirror. That was his great offering to his reader. No one else will do the droll shoulder shrug, the gee-whiz of Bruce's American innocence with as much piercing truth. From Sharma's point, I can summarize that my father's tears is more catastrophic than elegiac because in the short story, tragedy has been happening to main character, where at the end of the story, he is divorced with his wife, his father, father-in-law and mother die. His reunion with his friend, which is Alzheimer, is tragedy because he cannot share childhood memory with him. It is a masterpiece of compressed narrative which finishes obliquely with main character devastated but unable to cry from tragedy happening. From the story also, his usage of words like Sharma said, make people can imagine being in the situation where Updike, with details, tell every setting in the story that make us experience the situation and feeling that Updike want to deliver. People Sharma also adds the point that people have no gut to talk about sensitive or taboo things like Updike, where he talked about kind of love where people rarely talk about it. In the story, the main character has difficulties to express the love towards relationship that he built with anyone, and with the failure to show it, his relationship destroyed. Updike's message is to encourage people to express love more in life while you can. That's all from me.
I am Fatina Athira will explain about reviewing criticism of The Apparition by John Updike. So, The Apparition is one of the story from My Father's Tears short story collection published on 2009. Firstly, reviewed by David Hedendorf in the Siwani Review, Volume 118, A Tale of Faltering Lust on the Tour of India. In my point of view, David Hedendorf is true because Henry Milford found Lorena in his own group tour of India. He finds Lorena attractive as she is still young, which is 30 years old younger than his wife. He is reminded of Lorena even when he is lying beside his wife on the bed. However, he realized that he is near to death and Lorena is only one of his last, because Henry Milford is already 70 years old. This can be shown in the short story, says he rejoices to be tasting lust folly once more, though the dark shape he was lying upon fit to him exactly was that of his body in its grave. Henry Milford is reminded that he is near to death, and he is imagining his body in his grave. Secondly, reviewed by Harsh Desai in the Tribune India Spectrum on August 2, 2009, which is a tour of American tourists around the temples of South India. It begins with them climbing the hill of Shravanbelgora, and it is interesting to see how the tourists react to the heat and dust of India. Of course, India is just a backdrop for the story, which is about love and longing. In my point of view, Harsh Desai's criticism seems not precise about the whole story. This is because the story is mainly about a retired professor, which is Henry Milford, who is bored with the cultural tour of India. Then he is attracted with a younger married woman in the tour. When Harsh Desai said that India is about love and longing, India is not only about those two, but full of traditions, culture, and religion. This can be shown in the short story that says about Linga and Namaste. Linga is a complex symbol of Hinduism associated with Shiva, the supreme god in main gods of the Hindus.
Okay, so now we have come to the end of this presentation. So I will answer the questions arise from this presentation. The questions include why we analyze the short story. So we have chosen two short stories, My Father's Tears and The Apparition by John Updike. So why we choose these two short stories? This is because they seem to be similar in terms of their theme, but they are different from one another. We were curious to see the connection between these two short stories and how the writer changed the writing skill, the writing style, despite having the same theme. Okay, now what had we learned from the short stories? In general, we had learned that every story has a message to the readers. So, in these stories, they teach that love is a natural thing that can come and go in our life, but there is also love that can last forever. For example, in My Father's Tears, the persona loves his father-in-law, and also his wife, but in the end, he cut the connection that holds them together. However, in the Apparition, Mr. Henry Milford stayed loyal to his wife for almost 70 years, and that proved love to last forever. Next, what do we wish for upon understanding the story? So once we understand these two short stories, we come to realize that pure love is hard to find. So if we had found our true and purest love, we should never let it go. So we wish that once we found our true love, we will be together till the death part us. Last but not least, if we were given an opportunity to choose who we wanted to be, who will it be? So the answer is Mr. Henry Milford from The Apparition. Why? This is because he is the only one that kept loving the same woman for over 70 years despite his lack of attitude towards the end of the story. Still, he is loyal to his wife for 70 years. So that is all from us. Thank you.